The year is 2025 and there will be many people out there that are looking to start a new relationship.
We live in a world where men are timid, women are too afraid. More and more people don't even look at each other. They stay in their own lane. What did you think from a male's perspective with that high energy and just putting myself out there so freely and being free in myself? What was your thoughts on that?
I was like, yeah, man. She introduced herself to me. He's like, what? Man, that just doesn't happen.
There's a difference between being a real flirt and then carrying yourself like a woman and being confident. Ladies, this is what I'm saying. It doesn't make you a bad person to go up to someone and introduce yourself. You don't have to be a flirt. Just be confident and be like, hey, I am approachable. There's one thing I feel like a man must obtain in order to be attractive to women, and it's not what you think.
By the time this video or podcast gets released, it will be 2025. Yes.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you,
Happy New
Stephanie.
Year. And
year.
happy new episode.
New year, new you, right?
That's what they say.
That's
but
what they say.
I feel like that's a sham.
Well, for some people, I think some people might be able to turn it around. Give them some hope.
It's all good and well to hope, but make plans and stick to them. Like if you have a desire to have the best year of your life and do things differently, actually do things differently and stick to it. Don't just like make plans and then not even put in the effort.
Well, today we're supposed to be talking about how single people might be able to attract their perfect mate, their perfect partner.
So the goals for the singles this year is to find their perfect mate.
Well, for many people, that will be their goal.
You have to completely go in the opposite direction as you were. There's a saying that goes something about banging your head on the wall and expecting a different result.
The definition of insanity is
right.
Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Exactly. So I think my hesitation with these New Year goals is like stop doing the same thing over and over. I bet you had the same plans for New Year's of 2024 and then it dropped off. What can you do differently this year that actually puts you on a trajectory for change?
So hope is not lost, but if you are going to expect to change, you need to change. Change creates change.
And it's hope plus action. That's what I think it is. Sometimes hope seems so airy-fairy and hope is like motivation. It's like a feeling within. But then if you do nothing to accompany it, it's just a feeling of like, things will change. But yes, things will change. If you put things in action, you actually follow through and you're accountable for yourself and you back yourself in your decisions. You don't need your mum's permission. You don't need, a group of 15,000 people following your journey. Just back yourself. And I think when you do that, it changes who you are. You start respecting yourself, which means you put yourself more out there. You see change and then you keep going and it keeps rolling over from there. But you do have to back yourself when no one else will. That is one thing I did learn in 2024. Don't expect things to change without putting in the work. And if people aren't supporting you, you don't need their support. You support yourself. You believe in yourself. And then if you back you can't be disappointed because you're not relying on anything for that motivation or that hope that you just talked about. You're backing you for it. And you're accountable to yourself for it. So my gift and my wisdom to you is 2025 be the year of action and be the year of backing yourself.
Definitely. So relating...
Wow, that sugar really kicked in.
I know I got the motivation coming out now.
Yes, Lee.
So the year is 2025 and there will be many people out there that are looking to start a new relationship. And there are many people that will be maybe frustrated at previous relationships and feeling like they keep ending up in the same position over and over again. And what you're saying is that we need to create some type of change in order to create the change in your relationships that it is that you want.
Yes.
And there was an interesting story I was going to start this episode with, if you bear with me. It's a very short one, don't worry. It's a story I first heard by Wayne Dyer. And the story goes something along the like of, there was a man one time who lost his keys inside his house and all of the lights went out, the power went out. He looked around for a little while, but he couldn't find it because it was pitch black. And then he had this really great idea because he saw out the window that the street light was still on. And he thought, well, it's light out there and it's dark in here. Maybe I'll be able to see if I go out there. So he goes out into the street and looks around for his keys, and obviously they're not there. A neighbor walks by and says, can I help you find your keys? Sure. They bend down and they start looking all over the place. And then the neighbor gets frustrated and says, are you sure you dropped them out here? And he said, no, I dropped them inside. And the neighbor is confused and said, why are we looking out here? And he said, well, it's light out here and it's dark in there. And when it comes to how that relates, I guess, to singles, from my perspective, is that people often seek the solution outside of themselves rather than looking inside of themselves. People seek, the bright, shiny object that they think is going to be the person that's going to make them feel better, without actually going inside themselves and doing the deep work that is necessary in order to attract the person that really will make them feel great. And I think that was one of the things that we definitely did when we first got together. We've been together nearly 9 years now. And if we relate back to that story, we did do our very first podcast on that exact story and elaborated on that. But if we touch back to our story and how that might relate and help to the singles out there, I remember a few things that I did. I premeditated and got myself prepared for what I thought someone like you would be attracted to. Rather than trying to go out there and find you, I was trying to get myself prepared for you. And I think from memory, he did something somewhat similar.
I did. I was searching for a husband. I had left a husband. I left a marriage that I had my 2 children to, my ex-husband. I got married very, very, very young, and just to my second boyfriend ever. And obviously there was a lot of religious things around that, and being so young and parents' influence and things. And I definitely wasn't ready to get married. But we did, and we tried to make it work, had our children. Anyway, that fell apart. And then I was like, okay, I need a husband. I need to replace this person. I don't want to be alone. And the more I searched, the further it got from me. The more I would look at every single male as a potential husband. Gee, pressure much for any guy. So I just got to a point where I just got sick of being let down and trying to search. I didn't go on apps or anything like that. Or I was talking about, when I say searching for a husband, it's like every time I had a conversation with a male in the gym or anything, I'd be like, is this him? Yeah. Is that the one?
Which I don't think you definitely wouldn't be alone in that. I think many women out there would be thinking the same sort of thing.
And the worst part is we get like that because of the clock that we're on.
There's definitely more pressure for women. There is a clock, and especially if you're going to try and settle down and have a family.
Exactly.
You can't put it off until 50 because you might have missed the chance.
Exactly.
Whereas biologically, men don't have that same pressure.
Yeah, you can keep having kids for the rest of your life. So as we age, for us, there is more pressure to quickly, find a husband, quickly have kids. So yeah, and it becomes harder.
When we got together, you were 28, so you were still quite young.
Yeah,
still very young. And I think we're going to try and share some insights from our journey and share some tips for singles to try and attract the perfect mate. And by the way, for anyone that's in a relationship watching this episode is still, I think, going to be very much relevant to you. As I just tried to demonstrate with that story, I think the thing that needs to be the focus on is you rather than the person. There are a few external factors, things that we cannot change. You just alluded to age for women. A common one for men is height. Okay, so these are two things that are outside of our control. But if we focus on the things that we can control and the things that we can do to attract that right mate, then hopefully these are some of the things that we can apply to our dating journey. Yeah. But yeah, we got together when you were 28.
But going back to that story though, it was I attracted you when I let that pressure go that I had for myself. I was just like, I am just going to be the best mum that I can, and I am just going to enjoy just being happy, enjoy time with them, enjoy my job, which I was working for you at Strong Geelong at the time as a personal trainer, enjoy my girls that I'm training. And when I really let that go and just, I guess,
focused back on you.
Well, focused on me, but also just sat in it and felt content in it and went, this is okay. I feel okay and I'm going to be okay if this is just all I have. The moment that I did that and completely let go, and now I'm not talking about a let go in your mind, because anyone can do that. Yeah, I'm over it, whatever, moving on. No, I'm talking about like a fully let go in your soul and your heart where you actually feel the presence of letting go. And you actually have, not just in your mind, but within. And when I did that, that's when you and I sparked up pretty quickly.
Can you share the moment that happened? Because I know that there was a moment, if you're so willing.
What do you mean, which moment?
You said that before we got together, there was a moment on the bathroom floor.
Oh, so I am very faith-filled. I am a Christian, been a Christian my whole entire life, believe in having a relationship with God. And I remember that moment that I like let go. I remember putting the kids to bed. I was exhausted because I was just running from my job to daycare to this, to just running around to bath time, to just being a single mum. It was really hard because at the time my kids were quite young and one of my boy had autism. My daughter had diagnosed ADD as well. So the two of them at that age were absolute chaos, just craziness. And I just felt like I was run off my feet. Anyway, I remember putting them to bed one night, absolutely exhausted, and I dropped on the floor in my bathroom and I just started crying, just like crying, like, you know, that wrenching crying where you just feel like your whole body's just tight and you just, I just remember being so broken.
So you're on the bathroom and you had a moment where you were willing to let everything go. Obviously, what you were doing wasn't working at the time, and that was when you decided to make a switch.
Yeah, so I was on the bathroom floor and I was just crying, and then I just like prayed and I was just like, God, like I give it all to you. Like I trust, you know, in my heart that I want someone amazing, and you know what I want. And I just felt like, for me to move on and let go, that I just had to focus on being the best version of myself. So the next day, like I woke up, I'd given it to God. There's this saying called let go and let God. So I was like, I'm going to let go of this. He knows my heart. I'm going to put it out there and I'm just going to be the best version of me. I woke up the next day, I was like listening to podcasts, listening to preaching, just filling my cup
Investing
back up
in
again.
yourself.
Yeah, my cup was empty. And how can you give yourself to someone else when you're already empty and you have nothing to give?
You can't give what you don't have.
Exactly. So I was just filling my cup back up again with like personal growth podcasts, with spiritual podcasts. And my sister's calling me. I know you told me to put my phone on silent, but anyway, and I just felt so fulfilled. And I went to work the next day just feeling just like a new woman. And yeah, I think that when I really just let go and filled my cup back up, that's when things changed rapidly for me.
What's interesting about that was you were still quite young. You're only 28, but you did have two, I don't want to say special needs kids, but kids that were slightly more high maintenance than most. And many women listening that might be in a similar position might be terrified, I would imagine, to let go and just to let it be. Because, you know, there might be a notion in their mind of what they might think, you know, I must get someone sooner rather than later. But when that happened and when you did have that moment of just completely, you know, allowing things to be, we kind of drew closer to each other. And we actually knew each other. For anyone that didn't watch the first episode where we described how we did get together, we knew each other for a few years. I think it was 4 or 5 years before we actually began romantically seeing each other. And it was interesting, like previously, like whilst I found you very attractive, there was never an opportunity where we could have meshed and started a relationship. We were both, you know, on and off with previous relationships ourselves. But in that moment, I was also just coming out of a relationship that was a lovely girl, but wasn't working for me either. We both had past relationships, and clearly we were doing something that wasn't working. It wasn't the bond or the type of relationship that we share today. And I think a big part of that reason was because we were trying to, as you said, fill our cup with someone else when our cup wasn't full in the first place to begin with.
Yeah, I was willing to kind of settle for someone that wasn't for me just because I didn't want to be lonely.
Yeah.
So I was like, I would rather have this person than be alone. And I think when you really face your fears, especially if yours is being alone, and say to yourself, I'm okay with being alone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be okay sitting here for a while.
Which is so paradoxical because, again, you think I'm single and I would like a person.
Yeah.
And it seems so counterintuitive to think, well, no, I'm going to actually let that need go. And then that will actually be the thing that draws someone in. But it turns out we had a similar sort of experience.
Yeah. It's like manifestation though. Like if you're fearful of not having something, it's basically telling the universe that you don't have it because you're fearful of it. So it pushes it further away. Whereas if you're like, I am fine as I am and this is nice and I will have someone and it will come in the right time, it's like you're letting it flow and you're saying to the universe that, oh God, that I already know that this is coming. It's just a matter of time. And I believe that because I believe that God knows my heart.
I think the big thing is just like attracts like, and therefore desperate attracts desperate. And then when you come at someone or you begin a relationship with that desperate type energy, often what happens is you find a desperate, codependent type person that you end up just clashing with. And going back to that story that we spoke about at the start, this is why it's so important to first focus on you, because you have to get to a certain place of self-fulfillment to be able to say, you know what, I don't need this relationship. I want this relationship, but I don't need it. I am okay with who I am. And if someone is able to come into my life, then we will make it magical. And I would love to share my life with that person. But I don't desperately need to grab onto them and bring them in because it creates such toxicity between both of you. And as I said, desperate attracts desperate, and no one likes that energy. It's a lot to carry. Yeah. A good analogy is I try and put a key into a hole, right? Sometimes the key will fit into the hole, but then it won't turn. It's like you might find someone in a desperate state and put the key in and force it to try and turn, but no matter what you do, it just won't spin. Yeah. Whereas when you find the right key and you're in the right place and it connects together, then it turns effortlessly and unlocks the lock. And I think you have to be the lock willing to fit the key in order for that to kind of occur. Yeah. So when I had a bit of a different experience to what you had, I didn't just say, I want to let go. I had a more of an action-orientated type approach to attracting you. I thought to myself, there's a specific type of woman that I want to attract into my life. And we knew each other and we were friendly, but I wasn't necessarily set on pursuing you. But I definitely found you very attractive, and I thought that the idea of you was something that I would like to have. And I thought to myself, or I asked myself, what is it that someone, if we use you as an example, what is it that someone like Steph would be attracted to? Someone that is gorgeous, someone that is fit, someone that has ambition. Who would I have to become in order to be attractive to that person? And at the time, I was pretty out of shape. I wasn't doing as much as I could in terms of taking care of myself. And I flipped it. I flipped everything. I said, you know what? It's time to pull my shit together and time to focus on creating the best version of myself, because naturally, I just assumed if I could become the best version of myself, then I must attract the best version of the potential partner that I want into my life. And we had a similar sort of approach. When you focused on yourself and you were focused on improving yourself as a person and a mother, I was focused on improving myself as a man and as an individual. That was when we just naturally connected at that point. And then after some discussion, which we'll talk about a bit more in part 2 of this video, of how we sort of might, some questions that might be worth asking before you get super serious with someone. But we connected and we felt like it was right.
Yeah, I think we connected when we found out that our values were very similar.
They did. Our values ended up aligning, which we'll talk about in our next episode, I think, how to actually communicate those values and find out someone's values so that you don't end up with the wrong person.
I think right now that we've talked about a little bit about our journey, why don't we discuss some of the ways that an individual can make themselves more attractive to a potential partner. Some key pointers to help people actually do this for 2025. Because it's all good and well to tell our story, but we want the key points. Tell us how to do it.
You tell me, Stephanie, what are women looking for in men today? What can they do to improve themselves, to become a more attractive version of themselves to attract the right?
Well, I'm going to use my sister as an example in this story because she's a perfect example. Because she always says, I want him to look like this. I want him to be into the gym and I want him to be X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. Like really super nice, but really masculine. And I'm like, okay, Katie, well, sorry, I said her name. Her name's Katie, guys.
Currently single.
Anyway, so I said, well, are you going to the gym? She's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, are you in your feminine? Do you think you're super feminine? She's like, nah, not really.
To attract the masculine.
Yeah, to attract a masculine, right? Her equal opposite. Nah, not really, because she's a single mum, right? So it's very hard for her to be set in her feminine when she's having to be everything and everyone. And I'm like, do you think that you're empathetic and kind, or do you reckon you don't have much patience for anyone? And she's like, yeah, I'm pretty low on patience. I'm like, okay, well, it's going to be very hard for you to attract this dream man when you're not what he needs. And I think what you were trying to say before is like, who do you have to be in order to attract what you are looking for?
Going back to that story we talked about at the beginning, she's looking outside under the street lamp.
Yeah.
And the keys are inside.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm like, you need to change yourself to attract him. So if you want a super masculine, you need to become more feminine. If you want someone who's really fit and interested in the gym and health, you need to be interested in the gym and health, because no doubt he'll be looking for someone who is interested in health and fitness because it's important to him, because he's going to want a life partner who wants to be fit and train with him and do things with him. And I know that would ruffle a lot of feathers, because some girls might be like, well, I shouldn't have to do that. He should just love me for me.
How's it working out for you?
And you know what? There's a lot of truth to that as well. Like sometimes with your personality, there might be things that he doesn't like that attracted him to you in the first place. And he should love you for those things. There are things that he should just love you for and be patient with. And there's also things that you need to be lovable.
So you're almost describing what the women can do and how they can change themselves.
Yeah.
But the original
I thought that's what you asked me.
No, I asked you, what can men do that are going to make themselves more appealing to women?
Okay.
What would you be looking for if you were single in the year of 2025, which you're not? But if you were, what would it be that you would be looking for? What would you encourage men to do in order to, make themselves more appealing to women?
Masculine is great. But
masculine energy.
Yeah, and authority, like standing tall in a room, like chest up.
So confidence.
Confident.
So work on your confidence, men.
Being in shape, because the stronger you look, the more we're going to think that you can protect us. It's not just about, hey, he's fit, got a good body. There's something biologically, is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah. There's a biological desire, because women are inherently more vulnerable.
Yes.
They carry young.
Yeah.
And they're, let's face it.
It is biological. It's just what we're attracted to.
Yeah, like you're physically more at threat than what men will be.
Yeah.
Like men can, obviously have for hundreds of years perpetrated women. So there is an absolute biological reason that you would want a strong mate to protect you.
There's also something that men will find very, very hard to swallow. There's one thing I feel like a man must obtain in order to be attractive to women, and it's not what you think.
What is it?
I know there's masculine and I know there's strong and there's confident, but there's this one thing that gets us.
Tell us.
It's warmth.
Warmth. Describe warmth.
Kind eyes, like when you're talking to him and his eyes look at you and they look like they're kind and warm. Like you're looking, like you're giving me eye contact. And I know that men struggle with eye contact because they're always looking for threat. They're always trying to see their surroundings. But if you just zone in, give me your presence and just give me that one-on-one eye contact, it's going to melt my soul.
I think the key word there is presence, right?
Yeah, but there's okay. I say warmth and kindness because that's what you have in your eyes, and that's what got me. The moment I saw your eyes and you looked into mine, and I could feel the warmth and I could feel the softness that was in your soul. You were masculine, but you weren't just hard. You were like, there was something there that got me. And I know that most men would probably struggle to figure out what that is or how to do that. But maybe it is just a matter of look into her eyes and show her presence, and she will see your warmth.
Well, a common way that intimacy is described is
Intimacy.
Intimacy. And I think that it says a lot about a person if that they can maintain eye contact and maintain that connection, because for many guys, you're right, absolutely will struggle with that because they are always on guard and looking around. And, guys are often taught societally, culturally, that they shouldn't be vulnerable, they shouldn't open up, they shouldn't let people in, partly because there's a lot of dark skeletons in here that he probably doesn't want to let her in on. But if a guy can work on himself to the point where he's at peace with some of those skeletons and at peace with some of those shadows that he feels embarrassed about or whatever about, then he actually has an opportunity to connect with her from a place of truth and a place of love.
This is so hard because a lot of you guys probably don't know, but Jamie shared his skeletons with me. Your most inner...
we both did.
Yeah, but that was easy for me to do because I'm just a woman and I blurt everything out. I can't help myself. But you, as a man, shared them with me. But you said that once you did that, you felt such a release.
Yeah, I think it was more about self-acceptance because I think that guys, I think women as well, but guys naturally feel, how do they feel? They feel suppressed, like something is wrong with them. In fact, I'd even argue that they're taught from a young age that something is wrong with them if they're too boisterous or if they're too loud or if they get an erection or, all of these different things. Like they're told, settle down, young men, like keep it in your pants, don't be too loud, be respectful, all of these different things. When sometimes they might have these things that come up. And then when they're often fed that message of, don't express yourself, that gets conditioned and then they hide. They hide all of these different shadows, if we call them that. But the problem with that is if there's all of these, like I said, skeletons lurking in the background, it means that you will really struggle to actually get to that point of intimacy when you're trying to connect with your loved one or potential loved one, that you'll be presenting your advocate, like this fake persona of you rather than the real integrated version of you. And if you can embody that integrated version of you, all parts of you, it means that you're going to have a much greater time and build a much greater connection.
And trust.
In your relationship.
She knows when you're hiding stuff. Yeah. She's like sus on you.
Yeah.
Like we have this inner intuition and discernment where we can feel and see that something's not right. And we can't put our finger on it, but we know something's not right. And we will probably hound you until we get the answers. And you can hide all you want, but we know. So you can just keep hiding that and never get close to us.
It's always true. I think that probably happens later on in a relationship.
Yeah, I know we're talking about singles, but I just had to let people know that like even when you get with someone, don't be fake. Like don't be the best version of yourself that's not even real when you're putting yourself out there. Like this persona that you're talking about building, what would she want? Make sure it's authentic. Don't do something that you can't even like keep up with. Like you become this fit person for a year and like this and that and whatever it is that you think she wants. And then the moment you've got her, you just lays off and then it's just, you're back to old, same you. It's like, that's not going to work. Like this has to be authentic to you and actually like a life change.
Good point. So the more that you can integrate those different parts of yourself and come to terms with whatever has happened in your life, in your past, make sure that you are okay with that. Make sure that you're okay with you. If you're okay with you, then you've got pure love to give rather than this like faltered, flawed love that you're going to project onto someone else, which generally comes from that place of insecurity, hoping that they'll be able to fill your cup like we talked about before. But when ultimately you need to fill your own first before you can give to that other person. So how to cultivate that? How does a man cultivate presence?
I just want to quickly stop this podcast to thank our sponsors for today's drinks. This is Nexus Nutrition.
So these drinks, protein water. We've both got a protein water, which we are sipping on. Has become a constant theme in this podcast, which we are very grateful for their support, and also just very grateful for these delicious drinks that are not only delicious, but also nutritious.
Oh, that rhymed, honey. Yes, they're very nutritious. They have zero sugar in them. Mine doesn't have caffeine. Yours does. The drink that I'm drinking today is Sour Raz. It's quite fruity.
And the one that I have today is the White Blizzard, which is their newer flavor, I believe.
Yeah.
And as Steph said, my one is caffeinated, just with a bit of caffeine, but enough to give you a bit of a buzz on. So if you are an energy drinking type person, do yourself a favor, ditch the crappy energy drinks, which just give you this big caffeinated rush, make you crash and make you feel awful with zero nutritional benefit, and replace it for something like this, which will give you that hit of protein that you need to keep those muscles going and you looking great, and give you that spark of energy, just enough to keep you through the day without that significant crash that you might get otherwise.
Yeah. The best part about these are they're not milky. You know, protein shakes are very milky and sometimes you just don't feel like that, especially in the heat. So these are quite refreshing and just a great source of protein, especially if you are running around and low on time and you don't have food prep with you or whatever it may be. Just chuck it in your handbag or your car.
And they do have many other great products. If you are someone that trains and looking for some supplementation to support your training and enhance your results, make sure you go and check it out. We can also get some pre-workout. Their pre-workout is the PER4M Pre-Workout, which has become my all-time best friend.
It really has. And my son's.
Yeah, he's loving it as well.
But he's stealing ours.
Yeah, I know.
We're like, get your own.
Yeah. It gives you a great kick, a great pump.
Very flavorable.
Very flavorable. They nail the flavors every time, but definitely something that I would check out.
And highly recommend.
And by the way, you can also get these drinks, not just in the ready-to-go cans.
Yeah,
we can get them
in
a powdered version, which is equally delicious. And nutritious. So be sure to check them out. We very much appreciate their support. A way that you can support us is by supporting them. So
exactly.
Head to nexusnutrition.com, or if you are Australia-based, you can pick up a can in either Woolies, Woolworths, or Costco.
Now back to the podcast. You said, how can a man make himself more attractive to a female? And I was talking about having that presence when he looks at you with his eyes. That is, honestly, that will get a girl most times because it's not something you really see with people.
Is that because it's rare, you think?
I think so. I think because it's intimidating. So a lot of people struggle with, you know, looking one-on-one. And also it's vulnerable inducing because you're looking into someone's soul. And it's almost like you can see someone's soul in the depths of their eyes. The depths of their eyes. And I know even when we are fighting, we've talked about this on the podcast before. When I do look into your eyes during the middle of a fight or like after a fight, you get me every time.
I think that's because of the connection that we have built over years, though. I think that that's a difficult thing to cultivate for newlyweds, let's say. So I think that the main thing that I think can be worked on and should be worked on in regards to the presence is just like we keep talking about, is going within yourself and making sure that the energy that you are projecting is pure, not one of judgment, not one of scorn, not one of hatred or resentment or any of these really impure feelings or emotions, or if we talk vibrationally, the energetics that you actually project is so important. And if you can work on yourself, let go of some of the resentments that we all have, try and find a place of self-love and love for others around you, when you do have that connection and project that positive vibe, it's pretty addictive. And that was something that really hooked me in with you, is you very much had that same energy. And I feel like our energies really matched when we actually started to get to know each other better, and had those conversations. We just sort of meshed at that point.
Yeah, that vibration and that high energy is really important when trying to attract a mate. I had a look on Threads the other day, which is the new platform that Instagram has released, and somewhat my algorithm isn't curated yet. It's like curated, should I say. It's all over the place. So there's lots of random stuff going in there because I don't use it enough. But someone wrote on there, what makes a girl really attractive? And I was just reading the comments to a man, and the guys were like, I think very little guys were saying boobs, bum, and looks. Most of it was like this. I'm not joking. This is just random guys. Mm-hmm. Christianity, like having a relationship with God. Another one was like someone playful and fun, light. Someone else was like someone who's happy. So it was a lot about like spirituality and energy more so than looks. Because I think we are in a world that is just
fixated on the physical.
Like even those dating apps, like swiping, physical.
That's what the apps are built on.
Online, the picture, the profile picture, which people just, it's catfishing anyway, for the best up of the best or the edited versions. And it's all based around that. And people just want to come back to that spiritual connection and the vibration of people and that happiness that we don't have a lot of in the world today. People want people who are going to make them feel good. And that's what people look for in a partner as well. Like, do I make you feel good, Jamie? When I'm around you, am I high energy where you just like, I'm like a battery to you where I just charge
that's
you?
That's what I told you when we first got together. I was addicted to your energy. Like I'd never met, like, you know, we've all met the energy vampire, right?
Yeah.
The person that you meet that you just sucks the life out of.
Yeah. And you're like, get away from me.
And if you really think about like how rare it is to find someone that is like that battery, that like fills you up, that when you have a conversation, you don't, you know, leave feeling drained or leave feeling neutral. You leave feeling charged.
Yeah.
Like that is the person that can attract whoever they want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Provided that same person, you know, the person that they do attract, I'm sure, will be at a similar level of vibrational output.
Yeah.
And for anyone that's like a little bit, you know, sus on this whole concept, because I know some people get a little bit like, well, this is a bit woo-woo and out there and spiritual or whatever. There is a fascinating book that I would highly recommend reading called Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins. I've got his map of consciousness printed.
We love that map of consciousness. Yep. If you haven't heard of this, you need to look it up.
It literally changed my life and changed my perspective on a lot of these things. I sort of, when we got together, I hadn't read this book, but after I did, it definitely changed my perspective on really creating the ownership of myself and making sure that I was balancing my own energy and spirit rather than expecting you to do it for me. Because as I said, you know, many people are looking for someone else to fill them up. But if you can find it within yourself to fill yourself up, then everything gets unlocked. And if you look at that map, really interesting, like the bottom level of that map, I think is like the lowest emotions. I probably have to describe what the map is. So the map is a guideline to, low vibrating emotions versus the highest vibrating emotions. The lowest one, I believe, is shame. So if we live in a place of shame, you know, I'm sure you've probably talked to people that are shame-ridden, and, you know, while we feel extremely sorry for them, they are physically and emotionally exhausting people to have a conversation with. Versus if we talk to someone that is at a place of acceptance for themselves, or at a place of love for themselves and others, these are the types of people that you feel like energetically charged. And you can dive into the science behind this whole theory and concept within that book if that's something that you're interested in. But this is absolutely a real thing. It's something that has been tested and proven, and definitely something that should be considered.
Yeah.
So where were we?
Yeah, just attracting. Now that I think about it, when I did come up to you in the gym and I was like, hi, my name's Steph. I see you here all the time. I'm sure you were like, oh, this girl's nice. Yeah. What did you think from a male's perspective with that high energy and just putting myself out there so freely and being free in myself? What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so for anyone that didn't watch I think we talked about this in the first podcast, but the first moment that I met Steph, we met in the gym, which we should talk about as well, where to meet people. But we met in the gym, which is a shared interest of ours. I was working in the gym. Steph was a patron at that gym. We saw each other a few times, and I thought, you know, she looks all right. But then you actually, after we had seen each other around a few times, You came up and introduced yourself to me, bounced over with a big smile, always got a big smile on your face. And you held your hand out in front of me, ready to shake my hand, which, by the way, you're the only woman that has ever done this to me, ever. I don't think it's a very common thing with women. So I was a bit taken back. I was like, what's going on here?
No, there's something to this story.
Yeah.
Didn't you tell like an older gentleman
in
the gym?
Yeah.
And what did he say to you?
I told a client like the next day. Anyway, I'll get there. But anyway, you came over and you put your hand out and you said, "Hi, I'm Steph. I see you here."
Hi.
You say it. Do it justice.
All right, I'll do it how I said it.
Yeah. With pleasure.
Okay. Let me just have a moment.
You pop over.
Okay, I pop over. Hi, I'm Steph. I see you here all the time. It's really nice to meet you.
I think you said, I'll shake your hand.
Yeah, that's what Oh, gentle.
Sorry, it's too strong.
And sweaty.
I think you said, "Hi, my name's Steph. I see you here all the time and I figured we should introduce each other. Or we should get introduced."
Yeah, I'm thinking, why is this guy who's here every day as the head trainer, I'm coming in here every day and you haven't even met me yet? That's so rude.
I was like 18 years old at the time.
You're the head trainer. It was your duty to like be friendly.
Well, I was a bit intimidated by the hot chick in the gym. I was just keeping...
Ladies, this is what I'm saying. It doesn't make you a bad person to go up to someone and introduce yourself. You don't have to be a flirt. Just be confident and be like, hey, I am approachable.
But this is also another point of reference, because I think although that was what started our relationship, that did get you into some stickier situations in the past, being so vibrant and friendly.
Yeah, because it comes off as flirty.
Flirtatious, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, if you're a single person, like, you've got to be willing to have those conversations, and whether or not that's perceived for an insecure person or a judgmental person that might perceive that as, well, she just puts herself out there and that's too flirtatious, because I think that's often said to women that are like that, and then all of a sudden they go into their shell and they get closed off.
No, you just got to, there's a difference between being a real flirt and then carrying yourself like a woman and being confident. I think and a confident seduction flirt, that's different to just like being really hyperactive and like with everyone and jumping from boy to boy at the gym. That's not what I'm talking about. Carry yourself differently like a woman, the woman that you are.
So for the women listening,
what does that look like?
Well, what separates the bouncy, immature girl from the woman? That
your conversations and how you introduce yourself. Like for myself, I wasn't like, "Hi, I'm Steph. What are you training today?" It was like, "Hey, I see you here all the time. I feel like it's about time that we met. I'm Steph." It's like commanding, it's like directing the conversation and being sure of myself. It wasn't just like throwing myself around everywhere and just going from one thing to the other. It was directional, meeting you kind of in the middle. And I think, if you're at the gym, it's like, "Hey, I'm so-and-so." Let's just say that they are at the gym meeting a person. They've seen a guy from across the room. She feels like he's giving her a bit of a vibe, but he won't come and speak to her. "Hey, so I saw your work. I saw you here last week. What are you training today?" "Oh, yeah, same. I'm going to be hitting the shoulder, although I feel like sometimes when I'm doing the presses, it just doesn't quite feel right. Maybe there's something that I'm not doing right. Do you reckon you can help me and watch the next set?" Now, you may think, I don't need help, but I was actually being quite manipulative in what I said just then, because now he has to come over, watch me train, which means he's going to be watching my body. And then secondly, I'm going to be asking for his help, and men love to help. So now he's like looking at my body, so seeing me. No, I mean like
You're
seeing.
like the female Hitch right now.
Hitch. That's a good movie. But he's seeing me, seeing me, having a conversation and seeing me and being present with me.
Yeah.
Like not looking around the room. He's looking at my body because he has to, because he's going to watch me spot, which means I have his presence. I'm not meaning that in a really sexual way. Anyway, and then after that, I'm going to be like, "Thank you so much. That was so helpful." So not only have I asked for his help and he's felt needed, I've actually given him gratitude afterwards, which then is going to make him think about me, because he wouldn't receive that very much, assuming he's single. So it's like sometimes you just have to command in a certain way that's not just like, "Hi, what are you doing on the weekend? I'm going out here." No.
Yeah.
It's like, he's like, "I don't care. Do what you want. I don't do that. I don't go out. I'm here at the gym. I work hard. I go home and eat and then I sleep. Do you know what I mean? Like it's risky to play that kind of behavior of like bouncing around. Be directional.
So tell me, Stephanie, if you're talking about how women can approach men, but as I said, when I was younger and I first saw you, I probably didn't have the guts, let's say, to go over to you and start the conversation. I was very grateful that you did that and initiated that point of contact. Mind you, it was like many years after that point that we actually began seeing each other.
Wait, we never got back to what the guy said when you said that to him, that I came up to you. Guy in the gym.
Yeah. I said to the clients that I saw the next day or something like that, I said, hey man, this chick that I met yesterday, like, I think maybe you were in the gym and like he was like, oh geez, she looks all right.
Did you really?
I think
That's
so.
scary.
Yeah,
okay,
from
go.
memory. I'm talking back like a decade now.
Okay.
But anyway, and I was like, yeah, man, she introduced herself to me. He's like, what? And I was like, yeah, she came over and shook my hand and went and like said her name and like we had a conversation. And he was like, man, that just doesn't happen. Like I'm telling you, there's something in that. Which I do think that might be like women, although the advice that you just gave was great, women should probably proceed with caution because men are very easily led on.
No, I mean, do that to someone you're interested in, not just all the random guys at the gym.
Correct.
Like if you're wanting to.
But then I'm sure that many women out there would have that same sort of hesitation with doing that. Like how do they
then if that's you, if you don't want to go up and talk to someone, that is completely fine. And you want them to come and chase you, that is completely fine. And I also highly agree with that. But make yourself open. Don't be at the gym with your head down and your headphones and your phone and unapproachable. And that's fine. Some people are at the gym to train. I hope that you were all there to train and not pick up. But I'm just using the gym as an example of a place where we met and that some people may have also met, that if that is someone that you are looking for a gym person and someone who has a like-minded like you who is into health and fitness and you're hoping that you may find someone at the gym, be approachable.
I thought of another Hitch-Like idea. Say you're a woman, you're walking with your headphones.
Yeah.
Just accidentally drop one nearby.
Ew, why?
Because then he can pick it up and then he can initiate the conversation. See what I
don't think she should drop her headphones. They might break. Maybe the water bottle.
Drop the water bottle. No, it's got to be something small that's not really obvious.
So is she going to drop it like it's hot and then slowly come up?
No, just like accidentally drop it, accidentally behind herself. She doesn't notice. She keeps walking. He sees it. He can be the savior.
Yeah, well, let's just keep it, exactly. Let's just keep it simple. If you want to attract a male, he loves helping. Okay. Yeah. He wants to do things for you and he wants to be appreciated.
He wants to be the hero.
They're just simple. Ladies, men are simple. That is it. They want to feel like a hero and feel needed.
So I'm telling you a way that he can feel needed and initiate that conversation.
And that's the same thing with helping her do a set or spotting her. He's needed.
Yes.
And then thank you so much. He's the hero.
The difference with that is that she has to start the conversation, whereas in that situation, he's starting the conversation. Even though she's planting the seed, he still gets to start. Excuse me, you dropped this.
I'm just coming at it from today's perspective. Like if I could have my choice, I would love for a man to approach a woman. I feel like that's how it should happen. I'm old school, right? Mm-hmm. But we also live in a world where men are timid, women are too afraid. It's just, I feel like more and more people don't even look at each other. They stay in their own lane because everyone is scared of each other or upsetting someone or whatever it is. We've become very antisocial in today's society. We're all online and on our phones. Mm. So I feel like because of that, I would hate for a woman to miss out on an opportunity and not put herself out there when she can potentially see that he's interested. And she's waiting and waiting and nothing's happening. It won't hurt just to let him know that you're not scary. I'm not saying be masculine and do all the approaching. I'm just saying if it comes to that point and you need a way in, that's a little trick or something that you can do and just open yourself up to just help start the conversation and then he can lead from there. That's fine.
I think in men's defense, a lot of good men will get dismissed or they won't even get the chance with women because they have been told to they've been fed a message which is to respect women, and the way that men interpret that is just to leave them alone.
Don't look at them. Yeah.
Serve them when necessary. But let's say he might be, desire her. He's not going to put himself forward and say, "Excuse me, I'd like to date you."
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that it means that he loses all authority over himself and loses the opportunity to connect with her. And so many guys lack the confidence, I think, to do that. And it's a difficult one. It's a really difficult one for guys to overcome because of that message that gets fed to them. But you're saying that guys should be able to approach a woman in a friendly manner, and she received that with warmth?
If she's annoyed at it and she's like, "Oh my gosh, like go away," then she's not for you, mate. And that's fine. Like let it go. Like you put yourself out there and now you can respect her decision and leave her alone.
So there are many people that if they went through that experience and faced that rejection, that would put them off forever and they would never try again.
Okay, well then you need to start building your resilience.
Which I think goes back to the very overarching message of this podcast and this episode, and how to attract that right person is be okay with yourself. Don't come from a place of desperation. If you're coming from a place of desperation, then a rejection will feel like the biggest slap in the face that you probably will never recover from.
Yeah.
If you're coming from a place of fullness, then a rejection just means perfect. Like, thank you for not wasting my time. You're clearly not right for me.
Yeah.
The right one is just maybe the next one there.
Exactly. Don't take it as in like, oh, she hates me or women hate me. I'm just so pathetic. Exactly like you said, she's not for me. That's fine. I'm still okay. I'm still a good guy.
Yeah. If you are so insecure that a rejection like that, does you over, it means that you're not coming from a place of authenticity or purity with your love. It means that you're coming from an absolute place of dependency, which is going to create, a really toxic relationship in and of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was something that I think that we should talk about, which is the way that most people meet. We haven't even talked about it.
I know, we keep getting off track and we need to start talking about ourselves.
To go back to how most people meet, which in today's age, as you alluded to before, is online. So online dating, online apps is how most people are trying to find someone. And I have like total empathy for someone that is single and looking to find a partner and who believes that is a good idea.
Maybe it's their only option because they don't go anywhere apart from work and home.
Yeah, I think to find someone that you share an interest in, like they say opposites attract, like that is true in terms of like we've talked about a lot in this podcast, the masculine and the feminine, like those two energies, those two charges will attract. But I think it's important to share a similar interest. And if you can find someone doing a shared activity that you both enjoy, such as the gym or whatever it is that you're into, maybe you go to a running club, maybe you go to a basketball club, maybe you go to chess club, whatever it is. Like, I think it's absolutely worthwhile putting yourself out there if you're single and looking for someone, like going to these events, not the club, going to these actual events where you can find someone that you can enjoy a shared activity with. Because online, it's not often that you hear really successful stories of people online dating. And I think anyone that is online dating, no fault to your own, but that inherently is coming from a place of kind of desperation. Like you're deliberately searching for someone to meet whatever the criteria it is that you have created in your mind and hoping that you're going to find that right person out of 100 people or however many people that you swipe on. And it's definitely not an authentic or natural way to start.
That being said, though, there has been many people that have had success meeting online and it's been their only option.
That's
but
true.
I think that if you are going to go down that road of dating online, that just vet them before wasting your time and meeting them in person. Vet them with the hard questions in a DM or however they do it these days. And if they get bored or don't respond or have very superficial answers, don't bother. Like, get deep with someone on there, because there will be a select few who actually are on there for the right reasons, not just to have a quick hookup. It's just a matter of sifting out and hitting those questions hard. And if they can be bothered, you know that maybe there's something there, and then go on the date. But then when you're on the date, hit them again,
Definitely. But it kind of does go against what we're saying, does it not? Where it's like you have to be okay with being alone and be okay with not desperately searching for someone to fill that hole. Like if you approach it as if you're already whole, then do you need to be on there, and would you not be better to find someone in your life?
I think it's really relevant for the people who, like I said, aren't going to public places. Like basically their only meet places are work and the supermarket.
Mm.
And I feel like that's really fair to put yourself online, just to have connection with people to stay sane, but without being desperate, like this person, and then opening up 17 conversations with all these random people and just being like finding that kind of desperation. Like,
I'll share with you some statistics prepared for this episode about dating apps, because I knew that that's going to be a very hot topic for the singles out there. So New York Post surveyed 1,000 people in America about their experience with online dating.
Yep.
Okay. 8 out of 10 people reported that they felt burnt out by using dating apps. Mm-hmm. They found that 2 out of 10 people lie on their profile, whether it be about their age, height, employment, income, hobbies, dating history, and even their current relationship status.
Mm-hmm.
On average, people are using dating apps around 50 minutes a day, swiping, looking. This is the average taken over 1,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In the US, if we use that as a platform, because they've got the most data, Tinder has 7.8 million active monthly users. Tinder's base demographics was 75% male and 25% female.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Men have a match rate of approximately 0.6%.
Meaning that the people that match with them, like other females?
There is a less than 1% likelihood that a female will swipe on them to say that they're interested.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Women enjoy a match rate of around 10%, so it's a fair bit higher for women, naturally.
Yeah.
Okay, we've talked about that before. Now, let's take those statistics and break them down. I did the math. 7.8 million monthly users on Tinder in the US. And given the match rates that I just talked about, that means that there is a total of 230,000 people per month that are actually going to get a match, which means that the likelihood of someone getting a match is 2%. 2% of getting a match. So someone's spending 50 minutes a day on a dating app. They've got a likelihood of finding a match at 2%. Slot machines at the casino have a 2 to 10% success rate. So you are more likely to win at the casino on a slot machine than you are on a dating app. Now tell me, so I think it's a good idea?
So they should just go play bingo and they'll meet someone.
Might not be the best place to meet people. But the point is that whilst, yes, you're right, there are exceptions, but then there's also a rule. And if you run those numbers, then the rule is that most people, the majority, aren't having much success on apps. In fact, I might argue that if people on average are spending 50 minutes a day on there, swiping, looking at a desperation, because it almost becomes like a game, right? You're gamifying the dating experience. Then what does that mean? That means relationships become a game, rather than become a thing of authentic love.
Well, then I feel like if you are someone that does not get out, it's time to start playing golf, or it's time to start going to bingo or some type of something to meet more people, to have more opportunity to have like more authentic relationships in person. This whole online thing that we live in, this world, it's so empty. It's so empty.
Those statistics have changed your views.
No, I always speak on behalf of.
Yes.
I think I need to be always fair. So you will be like this, and I believe like exactly what you believe, but I also have to speak fairness for those who are on the other side of what we believe, because I also see their point of view. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I always want to make sure that they're okay. And they're not.
There is an exception and a rule.
Yeah, I don't want to isolate people who are on that dating app and just give them no hope. We spoke about hope at the start of this podcast. The hope is that if you are going to be on there and do that, that you be wise and ask the hard-hitting question and filter out the filth. And then if you are on there and you want to meet more people in person, but you don't have that opportunity, maybe it's time to get out of the house and join a new sport or a new group or a new community of something to meet other people, to widen the pool, but also work on yourself and do things that you enjoy, because naturally when you do that and fulfill yourself, you will open yourself up to high vibrations and more of a chance of meeting somebody instead of just being isolated and on your phone.
This is the masculine and the feminine in action.
Yes, always got to take care of everyone else.
The feminine is the nurturer who is inclusive of everyone and their feelings. The masculine says there's a right and wrong.
Yeah.
So people, get off the apps.
Or if you are on them, it's okay. You're okay.
You're okay, but you'd be better.
And know your worth.
To go meet them in person, I might argue.
I've never, ever been on a dating app ever. And I bet you my face is all over it, but I am not on there. Someone has stole my image.
People have told you.
Yes, they have. They have sent me my own profiles. Catfishing people. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so scary.
God help us.
But I can definitely tell you, if you have seen me on a dating app, I've never, ever been on one. So I can't ever speak on that and understand what you go through on there. But I can imagine from what I hear from my sister who is on them that it would be very difficult and very frustrating.
Well, to go back to summarize, I guess the point in which we are trying to make and what we did to begin our relationship is we focused on ourselves.
Fill your own cup first.
Fill our own cup first and make sure that you develop yourself into the type of person that would be attractive.
You want to attract, yes.
To the person that you're wanting to be with. And a really great exercise that I've often heard Tony Robbins talk about is writing down a list of all of the different things that you would like in your person, right? So are they kind? Are they caring? Are they loyal? What do they look like? Where do they live? What's their occupation? What's their hair color? Like as much detail as you can possibly get. Like spend a good amount of time on this. Then refine that list, the things that are the nice to haves and the things that are the must haves. Once you get a definitive list of what it is that you're actually looking for without just going to the superficial, I want him to be 6 foot, I want her to have a big bum or whatever it is, like get down to the root of who your person is, like who your potential person is. And once you create that persona, when you actually are going out and meeting people, all of a sudden you'll be able to so easily identify whether or not they're your person or whether they're not.
Jamie.
Yes.
I wrote about you.
You did.
And
you actually did.
I did. I wrote in my diary, the heading was him, H-I-M, him. And in it, I wrote what I wanted in a him. Yeah. I wrote about you. I said, what did I say? I was like, I want my husband to be kind. I want him to be inspirational and active with the kids and all of these things about you and implementing you in my life.
At what age was this?
I wrote one at 16 and then another one after my divorce. And nothing was about looks in there, not one thing, not his height, not his anything. It was his spirit and who he was as a partner in my life. A little bit like if you are single and you're sleeping in the middle of the bed, start sleeping to the side so you're leaving room for your potential him. Start, put another plate out at the table and make dinner. No, that's so funny. Yeah, it's too extreme. But like act as if he's already coming.
Yeah.
And write down what it is that you want and then just let it go. Like a vision board. Just let it sit there, let it go. And you can go back every now and then and read about him because you know that he's coming. But yeah, you are everything in my him. And when I went back and read it a long time ago, years later, I was like, oh my gosh, he's everything.
But it's so funny because you did have some other relationships.
And they weren't the him.
Yeah, it's almost like you, it was funny opening that diary that you kept and then realizing the similarities with the relationship that we have, which we're very fortunate to have. But then knowing that you probably discarded a lot of those qualities or forgotten about them or...
Because I was in desperation because I didn't want to be alone.
Compromise them too much.
Yeah.
But imagine if you stuck true to those things that you defined, maybe you found each other earlier. Who knows?
Yeah. And I think it's really important to go more spiritual and value-wise and what describe him, because I think it's all good and well to say, I want him to be tall and whatever. But if you sometimes do that and get so specific on every single little detail that's kind of superficial, him might be there, but then you're like, oh no, he's actually not 6 foot, so it can't be him, sorry.
That's why I said the nice to haves and the must haves.
Yeah, I feel like go for the heart first, and then you can start saying other things like blue eyes, whatever, and get very descriptive if you want to. But my greatest advice is to look at the heart first. And when you're looking at him, does he love his mum? Does he speak ill about his ex? What's he like if he's got children to someone else? What's he like with his kids? Like, go deeper and look at him as a being and a spirit and a soul, and who is he? Not just, is he hot? Has he got muscles? Go further than that, because if you're looking for a life partner, which I'm sure we all are and you are, someone you are going to grow old with, you want to be able to connect with and make sure that they're your it person for the rest of your life.
Funny, we're talking a lot about the spiritual component of a relationship, because we know now how important that is going through our experiences. A good point of reference that I think is worth talking about is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So we keep talking and mentioning coming from a place of desperation. Like, if you look at the hierarchy of needs, on the bottom level of what Maslow describes we all need, right, is our physiological needs. So we need food, we need shelter, we need water in order to be able to survive. And then he's created this pyramid of like, well, once we have this thing, it's then we can progress on to seeking the next need. Mm-hmm. So after we have the water, the food, the shelter, what do we then look for? Mm-hmm. Maybe we look for belonging. So we try and find a tribe, or we try and find our family to fit in with. Yeah. Once we've found that, what do we then need in order to fulfill ourselves? Well, we then need some sort of love and connection. Maybe it's an intimate partner. What do we then need? We then need some type of career or something to do. And at the top of that pyramid is what he describes as self-actualization. Yeah. So it's coming from a place of like the highest point of self-discovery. And I think when you're at that point, you have to realize that when you go away from the body, the needs of the body, we all crave some level of deeper connection, which is why I think we keep talking about it and mentioning it. Like, you have to be able to connect on that level to, I think, obtain long-lasting relationships with someone. And if you can't meet someone at that level, then the chance of it being just a short-term fling or a physical, lust-filled type relationship is highly probable if you can't connect at that level. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I think we break it there.
We break it there.
Have a little break and come back for part 2 of this series, which we will be talking on.
In this episode, we have discussed how to prepare yourself and the importance of preparing yourself. But then the other component of that is to vet someone else and find out whether or not they actually align with you. I think if you get yourself so well prepared, naturally, you will repel the wrong and attract the right. But even still, I think it's so important to be able to guard yourself with some questions that you can ask. I imagine, like, if I was a father advising a daughter, there would be questions that I would ask potential mates that are interested in dating her. And some things that I think that we could pass on that women could maybe ask for men, and vice versa. All right. Men can ask for women. So we'll discuss that
in part 2.
In part 2. But hopefully this gave you a bit of insight into the importance of self-discovery, self-love. And it's something that I definitely think that we can all take on board, whether you're not in a relationship or if you are in a relationship. Self-love is such a big component. Like, no one else is going to be able to fill your cup more than yourself, right?
Yeah, 100%. Fill your cup first and back yourself.
Yeah.
For 2025.
And the more that you do, the more value that you'll have to give.
Yeah.
So
thanks for watching today's video. Subscribe to our channels all over the place, on the podcast channels and on YouTube. If you like what you saw, please leave a comment, or if there's other things you want us to talk about, drop a comment and we can address that as well.
You can also comment on the podcast platforms. So if you're on Spotify, please leave a rating, a review and a comment on this episode. That would be very much appreciated, in a small way that you can help us reach more people. Otherwise, we hope to catch you on the next episode and hope to catch you in future episodes if you're able to follow us moving forward.
Sounds like a plan.
Peace out, guys. Thank you for listening, watching.